calling me, not the rainbow. Good morning, everyone. This is TD coming to you from the garage of Mr. David, and he's sitting over here watching. And he's making sure that TD, that's me, TD, does everything according to the proper protocols. And we're going to strive to do that today. Whatever we think those protocols are, we're going to strive to keep them. So, hey, how's everybody doing this morning? Guess what? Kansas City Chiefs. What do you think, guys? Did you see the game? Come on. Unbelievable game. What about those Rams? Did you see the Rams take Tom Brady down? Did you see that? Tom Brady went down. The biggest white boy, greatest of them all, he went down yesterday. So Tom Brady is no more. Who we have right now today is TD. So here's what you got. Got a beautiful day in Northwest Arkansas. I'm looking out the windows to the lake, and I'm looking around, and man, is it nice. I want to tell you, you're in the right place when you're at the Beaver Lake Breakfast Club podcast. I want to let you know right now, you're in the right place. We started to call it the Dead Pecker Club. We decided not to do that because I thought I still had some pecker left. So I called it the Half Dead Pecker Club for a while, and that didn't go over. So we're back to Beaver Lake Breakfast Club. So here we go. We want to put out our best wishes and our prayers for all the dead peckers out there for sure. And we want to tell them that they need to come down to the Breakfast Club, have a cup of coffee with us and a banana, maybe a good roll or something. Maybe you could bring us something to eat. We love to eat. We're from Arkansas. We're known as pigs. And hey, what about those pigs? Did you know that Northwest Arkansas people enjoy the #1 sports program in the nation? They beat everyone. Their basketball, baseball, and football programs rate higher than anyone in the nation in the past 2021-22 season. 0.5 higher than Alabama. Did you realize that, guys? You live right next to the best sports program in the world, you might as well say. And we like that. We got lakes, we got rivers, we got trees. We got all kinds of mammals and squirrels, and we got the Razorbacks, and man, we have fun with them. I want you to know. It's fun having them because they kick most of you guys' ass. I know that y'all hate to hear me, call that out, but let's call a spade a spade. Why not? We have Mr. Resmond here. We have Mr. David here. I know they're incognito, but I called them out anyway because without them, where would I be? I couldn't do this. So I want to call them out and tell them how wonderful they are and how kind they are to do what they do. All right, let's get started. I'll take anybody's suggestion for something, subject matter. I've always got a story or two for your subject matter. If you got something on your mind, a word you need defined or anything like that, we can straighten that out for you. But I'll start out with the Razorbacks. I love the Razorbacks, and I believe that they got the cutest little insignia, and they kick ass with that wild hog. How do y'all think about it? Let me know, man. I want to know if you like me. I watch baseball, basketball, and football, and overall, we kicking real big butt. I'm going to tell you. I want to know what you guys think about it. Are we kicking butt or what? We're the #1. There's 350 teams in the NCAA. We're talking about #1. We're talking about #2 in baseball. How about that? Did you know that? That your team over here is #2. They ain't even played a game yet. They hadn't played a game yet, man. They're #2. 350 teams. All right, so I'm over on baseball. I love baseball because I watched baseball when I was a kid. That I love the game because it's so much fun. It's fun to watch. It's fun to listen to people on the radio talk about it. Everything about baseball is fun. Have you ever been to spring training? I want to hear about the guys, the old dead peckers that scraped up enough money to go down to Florida and watch spring training. I want to hear from you guys because you know how much fun that is. Go down there and have a few beers and watch those young kids play ball and scratch out and try to make the team. You know that. They're trying to make the team like you did. Don't you remember when you tried to make it? Well, they're still trying to make it. So I love to go down there. If you want to talk about spring training, that's all we need to talk about because it's coming right up in March, in late February, as a matter of fact, late February. So I'm looking at the screens today. Of course, we got Croatia. We got big-time football, and we got some snow on the East Coast. So that's not too bad. At least nobody's in there with a machine gun cutting people down at the supermarket. Hey, how about that? Nobody's got a machine gun down at the supermarket cutting people down. So that's a success story in the United States, right? Amen. So Dan David, have you got something to say to us this morning? Do you have a subject matter that's worrying with you that you want to have straightened out right here on the podcast?
I want to hear some funny stories.
You want to hear stories?
Funny stories.
Okay. Well, let's see. Let's start out with the one about Tom. Now, Tom had a lot of funny stories about him because he was kind of a funny guy. He did things that other people didn't do. He was the one that was always in your medicine cabinet. While everybody else was out front talking, he was back in your bathroom digging through your medicine cabinet. Do you know the type? Do you have one in your family? So anyway, that was my friend Tom. And one night we got invited to sit up in the super suites at the Bomb Stadium and watch the game from third base. Looked like you were sitting over the top of third base. So everybody in the box was pushed out toward the rail because the game was so intense and it meant so much to the program, and everybody was pushed forward to try to get closer to the game. But someone was missing. And I bet you guessed who that was. It was Tom. So I turned around over my shoulder, and there was two guys behind me, and I spied down between them, and I saw Tom was on the buffet. He was the only one in the group of 20 or 16 to 20 people that was anywhere near the buffet. He was on top of the buffet, and he was going down the list, going down the line, one at a time. It appeared as if he was just taking one step and trying the next thing that they had to serve. And of course, they had big cheese and big wieners and everything. It was big old chips and pieces of chicken and barbecue. And they had brisket and baked beans. It had everything on this. And he was eating, I know he was eating for about 30 minutes because I kept looking over my shoulder and all I could see was his back bent over on the food bar. So I know he ate for 30 minutes. And then the game was over and he was still gone. He never came back to the group. And so I said, God, I've got to go look for him now because he's lost. He's wandered off out there. And I went and I saw all the ladies were dressed up, and there was only one bathroom there, and they were lined up, and there must have been about a dozen ladies lined up to get into the bathroom. And I wondered in my mind, this is terrible, you know. So they should have better facility or something for all these women, you know. And then I thought, well, maybe there's a problem. Anyway, I happened to turn around, and it was Tom coming out of the bathroom. And when he did, a bunch of sewage and feces and everything in the world come rushing out under the door. And the women started happy dancing because they didn't want to get in on their heels. And I was watching the whole thing from afar, and I go, what on earth has happened? You know, Tom had a sheepish look on his face and stepped to the side. And I turned and I said, what happened, Tom? And by the maitre d' of the Simmons Bank that was where he was eating off of, I'll tell you what happened. Real rough and gruff, and he turns me around and he said, Tom, who you brought up here, ate all the buffet up and down twice. And then he got into the liquor cabinet and drank the best scotch that we had. Then he went to the bathroom, which is the only one down this way, stopped it up, and run shit down the stairs, all the way down the stairs to the first floor, and everybody's shoes got fucked up. That's what Tom did. He said, now, Terry, I'm going to tell you something. We love you. That's me, Terry. I'm TD. He said, TD, I love you. And you can come back anytime you want to. But if you ever try to bring that sucker back, I will never speak to you again, and you'll be banned from the Simmons. Don't you even think about bringing him back up here. He ate that buffet twice. And he drank that. That was $100 bottle of 15-year-old scotch. And he drank that whole bottle. Then he shit all over everybody. And it's your fault because you brought him up here. And I said, Tom, what am I going to do, man? He said, I don't know, but let's go, Terry. So we ducked out down the stairs. And I laughed when I started thinking about it. My chuckle box got turned over, and I laughed for 15 minutes walking back to the car. I couldn't stop because of just the whole scene of how it went down so fast. But anyway, we won the game. The Razorbacks won the game. Tom had his problems, but I want you to know, when you have your friends, you got to have their back. Y'all agree? All right. What do you think about that story?
I love that story.
All right. What do you think about Mr. Gray?
You give us a rendition on the one with the drinking beer with a straw?
Oh, my goodness. I have one friend that drinks beer with a straw. Now, I know that there's been a lot of people that have had a beer. There's times to have a beer. When you're at the game, that's a time to have one. Hell, you're loosening up. You're outside. But there's not times, and so anyway, she drinks through a straw 24/7. Every time she's awake, she reaches for that straw. And then right after that, she has a big old long cigarette. And once she gets a good craw full of that sauce, that beer that she drinks through a straw.
Old Milwaukee Best Light.
Best Light Old Milwaukee. And that's the cheapest beer there is in the market. There's no cheaper beer than that. At least I'm thinking it must be. And she drinks it 24/7. And she loves to call the hogs. She just thinks that's the greatest thing, calling Woo Pig Suey. And she loves to call them hogs. And she likes to go through the motion of calling them, and she loves to get excited about it. And she did it one night so hard that she did a face plant on her own coffee table. I'll never forget it, guys. Oh, that last suey, when she went down, she stayed down. And she splashed all over her coffee table, and stuff just flew, it just flew everywhere. And I tried to pick her up, and guys, it took me at least 10 minutes to get her ass up because she was dead weight across that coffee table. Now, how do you go about that? I don't know. Should I just got up there under her shoulders and drug her or what? But anyway, I finally got her off, and she acted like she was going to call him again. And I said, no, don't call him again. Sit down over there because you pretty well showed your ass tonight. Anyway, that's the story about my girl. She stays on that straw, Old Milwaukee Light. Best girl in the world, calling you out. Hey, girl, Kelly, what do you think about it?
Husband has a golf course out in the cornfield.
Her husband, Eddie, has carved out a golf course next to his house. And to kill time, He's got a 6-hole golf course, and it's par 3, and it's very short. It's like a 50-yard.
Someone else's cornfield.
They live in a rent house and out in the prairie out in Hazen, and they got a field next to their house. It's been married several things, but he's got him a little golf course out there, and he loves to set up outside in that prairie, and they got a wind that blows through there, and it's down around Stuttgart. And you know what we're talking about in Stuttgart, man? They got the duck hunting capital of the world. I've heard that they have some duck counts that are nicer than the Waldorf Astoria in New York City. I have heard that the Southern boys have put together duck counts that are way nicer than the finest hotels in the world. Duck camps, guys. Have you ever been to one? I'd like to go to one. Let's all go. Hey, what do you think? Let's go to duck camp.
Let's go trash a duck camp.
Well, don't want to do that. Okay. Who likes live music? Have you ever heard of live music? Well, my generation loved live music, and the best live music we ever heard was outside because that was where they played, and a lot of times it was cheaper out there because it was outside. And we were more free to set up our little tents. We'd set up little tents, and everybody had their stash in their little tents, and you'd go in their tent, and they was from Colombia, and you go in this tent, and they was from Jamaica. Then you go over this tent, they were from Nicaragua. I mean, we went to tent concerts back in the day, guys, and everybody brought their little coffee can and their pipes and different things, and we'd get tuned up before the show. And then we'd go down to the show, and man, we had shows. I'm from the generation that I saw the boys, the Allman Brothers Band complete when they were complete before the tragedies of their history. So I was very fortunate to do that. I didn't realize how fortunate. I saw Jeff Beck play one time. We had some great shows that traveled around the United States, and some promoter in Arkansas and they will grab these guys and sign them, and we get to go to shows. It was great. It was one of the things we look forward to as kids. Do you understand me? And the outside shows where you could count they lasted Friday and Saturday and half a day on Sunday. Give you time to get home and get yourself reinvigorated for another suck work week. You know, you remember those days. All right. So we're living for the weekend now, but yeah, we saw a lot of great shows.
Tell about the time when the Secret Service showed up at your door when you were 9 years old.
When I was a little boy, when I was 9 years old, there was a new neighbor that moved in. He introduced himself, and he said, "Hi, Terry, I'm David Dyer, and I want to show you something." And he took a penny and rubbed it down on the concrete and made a dime. And I said, "That's bullshit. That ain't no dime." And sure enough, he could put it in a soda box and buy a soda. And I was amazed and quite impressed at age 9 or 10 that he was able to pull off such a tasty or such a nice little trick.
1,000%.
So we started in mass producing dimes. We got up to about 20 or 30, I think. And we would use them in the Coke machines around our neighborhood. And that went on for a while. We thought we were the king of the world. And then they caught us. Yeah, they caught us. We were only 10. We didn't have enough sense to spread it around. We had spent all the dimes or all the pennies in one box. So the guy caught us. His wife drove home his car, and he stayed in the store, and he walked out there and caught us doing it because he emptied the box right before he emptied the change box right before we got there. So all that was in there was the most scraped up pennies that we got through and drank a Barks root beer, or we had some great.
And he called it what? He
Huh?
called the police, and they called the secret.
2 weeks later, two guys that looked like they were coming off a TV show in suits, big white guys, came to my house. So I dived under the bed. I was 10 years.
at 59, 50,
Yeah,
60?
yeah. I was 9 or 10. And I dived under the bed. It scared the hell out of me. I've never seen anything like this, you know. Sure enough, it was my fault because I'd been scraping them pennies down and making dimes. So I could hear them talking, and it was really plain language. And I could hear it loud and clear, and it was talking about tearing my ass up.
They
But they
recommended corporal
They
punishment.
called it corporal punishment was the words that they used. And you don't hear those two words very often, but they pulled it off on me. And let me tell you, I don't know. But they
Was
told
that the biggest whooping you ever got in your life?
it was, I had the sniffles for a week. Man, he planked my ass. And I'm sure some other boys got it too, because we were wrong and we made a mistake and we thought we was cute doing that. And that was how our neighborhood was. That's the kind of neighborhood I grew up in, guys.
In Little Rock.
In Little Rock, which, by the
In
way,
1960?
it would be in 61, which was a great year. And we had a great time in those days in Little Rock. Beautiful town, beautiful city. The blacks and whites coexisted beautifully. That stuff that happened at Central in 57, that was a bullshit. Faubus trying to get reelected. That was our governor trying to get reelected. We got along with all the black people. That was bullshit. There was a few rednecks, but hell, there's rednecks everywhere. But there were a few, and they would easily be hashed out before too long. And that was all bullshit. I'll tell you right now, that was bullshit. Orville Faubus commandeered that and called out the civil, not the civil defense, but the National Guard. And it was, we weren't fighting that way. I was in the first grade when that happened, and I saw a little bit of it. It was over drawn, and it wasn't a real, it was a fake. But we got a lot of credit for it in our history books, ladies and gentlemen. So anyway, those that lived through it know better. Anyway, anything else? Is something worrying you real bad? You want to confess? That's what I like. I like confession. You ever see that very often? What is that called? Where you humble yourself? That's hard to do for Mr. David because he's so smart that he can't do it.
I was just thinking about all those whole list of funny.
He wants me to run through the whole list in one day. I'm not going to do that, but I'll tell you this. I have a funny story. Sometimes if you tell me where you're from, I'll have one too. That a lot of times that's the igniter for me, is hearing a certain area or a town or somewhere. It'll kind of kick me off on some stories. So like Dan David, he's from Kentucky. Immediately I think of Muhammad Ali, Louisville, Kentucky. Mr. Redmond's got a son living up here. He's paying $2,000 a month. And guess what, guys? That's 1/4 of what he has to pay. Whoever the landlord is getting $8,000 for that little bitty place up there in Manhattan. Now, you know, we need to all rise against that and tell them to lower those guys' rates, because they're just young fellas and they're trying to make a living. And if you take it all right up front, it's wrong. And that's what it sounds like you're trying to do. And it pisses me off, people, because they don't need that much money. They've been doing that for years. So don't think that they're just getting started doing that. It's time for them to slow down. There ought to be a law against it. Otherwise, you'll have to live out on that island and ride that train or drive, and you'll be screwed if you do. So I ain't staying there but 1 or 2 days, maybe 3 if you're lucky. Got a good show. And I like a good ball game and a good show up there in the Big Apple. They got some entertainment up there, and I like some of their food options, of course. I had pizza at John's one time, and it was great. Go to John's Pizza in New York City, over by Chelsea. It's over by Chelsea, where the Food Network is. Check it out, John's Pizza, Chelsea, New York City. That's good pizza. If you like that thin crust pizza, that fold away. I've been there a few times. What about you, Mr. Redmond? Do you have anything that's worrying you, or somebody dogged you?
He's actually thinking about moving.
Do you want to run for? You look like you're ready to run for office. Or you
He wants
want
to move to the tropics.
wants to go to Costa?
Just anywhere.
I got a few Costa Rica stories. A lot of guys like to go down there because I understand that about somewhere between $1,500 a month around there, you can live really well as so everybody, if you put $1,500 down, you can go through the whole month living pretty well. So that's what a lot of American fellas did, is bought something down there or had some kind of relationship so that they could see. I think a lot of them just wanted to see if that was true. And I guess it's true according to what you call a fine life. If you got fresh fruit on the table every time I come to the table, that helps a lot, especially fresh bread with it. So we're getting started really well, and I know that's a tropical zone, so I can see the draw. And I heard that place was clean, and that's what makes the difference to a lot of people. We don't want to go nowhere nasty. New York City's nasty, folks. I've been there several times. They need a power wash, don't they? Big time. But down in Costa, it's fresh, baby. Tell me. And I've never been there, and I can feel it already. Costa Rica.
They should hire 100 power washers.
New York City that's the first thing he needs to buy for that city. He needs to put those homeless on the power washers. That'd be a trip. But yeah, they're cyber nasty. You have to really take care of a place like that. There's too many people. Every landowner should be out front of there every week with that power washer, cleaning off the pedestrian part of his property. And if everybody up and down the street in New York did that, guys, we'd like it a whole lot better as tourists that come to check out your city. Because we live in Northwest Arkansas, we don't see no stuff like that. And we don't want to see it like that. So clean up and we'll come up. That's what I feel. But first of all, you need to clean that place up. And a power washer is the only thing I know that'll work. At least that first floor. At least that. But anyway, I don't want to rant about New York. I hope you fixed the airport, though. The last time I was at the airport, it sucked, too. LaGuardia sucked, anyway. What about you, Dan? Have you been through LaGuardia?
No, I went up there with the train.
JFK?
When it came up to the train, what was that? From City Station.
You came through Long Island Railroad.
From Philly.
You took the train from
I
Philly.
was checking out Columbia for college.
That was nice. He was thinking about going to Columbia, guys, for college, checking it out.
Ended up going to Hanover.
He went to Hanover College, which sounds like Ivy League almost, don't it?
Now it's Southern Indiana. It was the cheapest private school in the nation.
I'll be
Because
doggone.
Presbyterian founded.
Presbyterian, rah rah.
And apparently it was only 900 kids. And we had a good time.
Sounds cool. I was a mule rider from Southern State College in Magnolia, and I was a basketball player and a baseball player for them. And I enjoyed that because I didn't have to go to class most of the time because we were always traveling. So it's hard to make good grades when you're never there. But somehow or another, we worked it out. You know what I mean, guys?
Wait, done.
Yeah, man. A coach asked me one day, he said, what subject are you having any trouble in? I said, every one of them. I said, he said, what do you mean? I said, hell, I haven't even been to them. He said, I don't even know where they are, much less what page they're on, And he said, okay, I'll take care of it. Next thing you know, he said, have you had any trouble? And I said, no, everything's been going real smooth. So he took care of it, and I made a good, decent, average grade. But we stayed on the road all the time. You was constantly either playing a game or getting ready to play a game, or getting ready for next year, or getting ready for, just constantly. And I played two sports, so I went into baseball as well, which I enjoyed a lot more. It's not as fast as basketball. It don't take as much exuberance as basketball does. So I love that sport, and I still do. And I go to spring training, And my goal is to go to Grapefruit League and see them for about a week, and then come home and relax, and then take another week and go to the Cactus League in Phoenix and see that bunch of teams too. That way I get a better feel for the American and the National League. So I know both leagues. I kind of concentrate on the National League with the Cardinals and such. And I'd like to get a little bit of that other league. So anyway, that you got to go to Phoenix, to Tempe. Y'all know Tempe? Tempe, Arizona? That's where the other league is. That's where the Cactus League and the Grapefruit League. The Grapefruit League is Florida. That's where about half the teams are. And the Cactus League is the Phoenix, and that's where the other half go to spring training. So those are the two places. Great time for seniors who ain't got nothing else to do. You'll see a lot of those over there.
You forgot to mention the story about the rental wife for a week.
Down in Costa Rica?
Yeah.
I was saving that for. I want to save that for another day. That's kind of an X-rated story, and I want to save that for another day. But I do tell you this: those guys down in Costa Rica, that's a third world country still, I think. And but anyway, that's another story that needs to be told in another frame of mind. What about your family? Your son just come back from London, right? Yeah, man. He said he had I said, how did you enjoy it? He said, man, I felt like I had the whole world at my fingertips. I said, wow, I never heard anybody talk about it. That grandiose, Wow, he had the whole world at his fingertip. And I said, I hadn't felt like that in a while when I got to thinking about it.
The heart of the British.
But you are looking at part of our past.
He loves history.
And it's very historical. And yes, my parents came through here and through immigrants. And they stopped in Tennessee, Arkansas, and Oklahoma. Just about. No, I don't think anybody, maybe one or two went on to California. But the strain of my people was Tennessee, Arkansas, and Oklahoma, and a few California. But yeah, and there's a lot of people like me here. There's a lot of people their people did the same exact thing as my people did. The hillbillies, the hillbilly boys. And that goes back to Dan's a redneck, so I'm a hillbilly, and I told him we're better people.
I'm a hillbilly. Rednecks are different. What did you describe the two as?
Well, you guys know that rednecks are haters. They hate this and that. Hillbillies don't ever do that. They get along with everybody. So that's the difference.
Kentucky hillbilly.
You put a bunch of rednecks together, and you're going to get a redneck mess. Is what you're going to get. Nobody wants that. Us beating the hell out of each other. You lose your civility. We're civil people. Need to get along. Show common respect. All right, this is TD throwing it at you right now. I don't know how long I've been going, but I've been going pretty good ways. I wanted you to know that the fire that comes from this potbelly stove is just absolutely, it just hits you in all the right spots. It's just amazing what the little potbelly will do. If I was the governor of the state, I would buy everybody a potbelly, and I bet you I'd win every election that I came to from then on out, because I'd let them, if their potbelly got old, I'd let them trade it in on a new. I'd brand new, and I'd deliver, a lot of them I'd deliver myself, come out and do some photo ops and whatnot. But everybody should have a potbelly stove. It just makes for a nicer vibe. You know what I'm talking about? The vibe. It's all about the vibe.
See you Wednesday.
So now I'm ready to cut it off over there, Mr. Redmond. I have to use the restroom for a second, and then I'll be ready to come back and introduce my special guest, Mr. Marvin Hagler, who fought Sugar Ray Leonard. They'll be here as my guest in just a couple of moments. Come on back now.
All right, that was good.
You see me fade.